Make it a better place, a better place.
Be able to work together to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
Let's arise and build, arise and build, arise and build our Bible to the next level.
The world of today is different from yesterday.
I'm running my own company. I use Nigeria.
Industrialization is a practical process. We want you to invest in the company.
There are very little things you can do and achieve so much. So just mentor them.
To build this nation, it's by thinking differently. It's by reasoning together. It's by working together as one.
So there's you must innovate or die.
Come to our fight mistakes. Tell each other the truth.
I am ready to be part.
Let's arise and reason together. To build a new and better Bible, and greater Nigeria and Africa and life. That's what podium of leadership is all about. Let's arise and build, arise and build, arise and build a Bible to the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome your host to the podium of leadership, Dr. Victor Udo.
All right, you may be seated. Welcome to the podium of leadership. So today we'll continue our discussion on wealth creation, and we've been talking about stock exchange and stock investment, and we've been partnering with a company called Kofana, to discuss how we really understand the nitty-gritty of stock, business. We were talking about last time about comparing the stock exchange, the stock market, and the Ruakpanandem. That Ruakpanandem, you go, you buy tomato and okra and things like that. In the stock market, you go and buy shares in a company. Today, we're bringing somebody as young as you guys in the audience who are doing these things, who are already in the stock market, so that we can interact. Because we want you guys to learn and understand. Because I know and believe that tomorrow, many of you will be investing in the stock, and some of you will be playing in the stock market itself. So join me today to welcome Ms. Edidion Imo, who is a customer care officer at Kofana Securities. Also welcome Idorian Akpan, who is an economist and head of operations at Kofana Securities. So we're not going to take too much time because I really want this to be like a one-on-one interaction so that you can ask them what they do and see how you can do what they are doing, hopefully, and some mistakes they might be making that you would not make. So let's start with the economist himself, Idorian. Tell us about yourself and what you do at Kofana.
My name is Idorian Akpan. I head the operations services of Kofana Securities. And what we do basically, or what I do basically, is to see to the day activities, at our head office. I also do the buy and the sell. We place the order, the jobbing order for buy and sell. When the customers come, I ensure that, and they place their demand for buy, and they also place their demand for sell. And at the end of the day, what is placed on demand and for sale is moved, to the exchange through the brokers, who are on the floor, who execute, these buy and sell orders. And also what we also do there is to ensure that we don't just allow you to do buy and sell orders. We ensure that we sit you down to analyze the stock you're buying. For instance, you walk in there and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to sell, you don't know what to buy. So what do you sell, what do you buy? It's our duty to ensure that, we guide you on the right stock to buy and the right stock to sell. Okay, for instance, if a stock is not doing well in the last maybe 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 5 months, we would advise you, why not step down on these stocks and going to move into stocks that have a good future. So that's what we do. We don't just end up telling you to buy anything or to sell anything, but then we guide you on what we know is the right way. We trade mostly on Nigerian shares. Okay. Mostly stocks that are listed on the exchange, and they are mostly Nigerian shares. You know, I mean, stocks like Nigerian Breweries, Nestle, Transcorp. You know, I mean, there are stocks in categories. The banks are all listed. Of course, before you have to come to the market, I mean, you need to go through a lot of process. Wow. You know, like the transparency. I mean, you need to look at, you know, a lot of issues before you come. You don't not just any firm comes to the market. Before you are allowed to operate, you know, and be listed on the exchange, you need to go through a lot of processes. And of course, one of those processes is that your books must be left open. Right. You know, I mean, issue of governance. You know, issue of those who are behind, what are the managers behind the firm and all that. So, I mean, these processes, you know, just to be sure that they're not just listed, but at the end of it, you're listed and you're staying. You don't just get listed and get out tomorrow, but you're listed and you're going to stay. And these stocks have a future. They have a future. You know, I mean, we expect that, you know, you're not just listing today to get out tomorrow, but as you're listing, you know, that we see growth, we see you growing, and we see the firm doing well in the future. So, Dorian, how do you get from school to where you are? Wow, I had an interest in investment. As young as I was, I had tremendous interest in investment. Which is why you read economics in the first place. That's why I read economics in the first place, because I had tremendous interest in investment. And I've been in the bank before, and still I was still not satisfied. I just felt, you know, the opportunity in the stock broking business is so enormous. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to create wealth, to make money for yourself. So have you made money for yourself? Yeah, I've made good money for myself. You know, and that's why I'm bringing this to the young ones who are here, that you could benefit so much from the market. I mean, for instance, I mean, Wando, just about 3 or 4 months ago, was going for like 3 naira. There was a point Wando went, within just 3 weeks, Wando went from just 3 naira to about 6 naira. And if you had invested for like 1 million naira in Wando, I guess it would have been like a millionaire, 3 weeks after. Yeah. You just need to learn how to read the market, know when the market is moving, and who are behind this firm. I mean, the records, you know, this firm is carrying. The fundamentals. I mean, the fundamentals are always there. Based on their records, based on their performances, you could know when and where to invest. That will guide you. Look, if Transcorp is doing this low, maybe in the nearest future, based on what they are investing in. For instance, Transcorp right now has been going to a lot of investment. They've been investing in power. They're investing in tomato plants, you know, somewhere in Benue State. And with all this investment, you know that the future is bright. If Transcorp, for instance, is going right now, as it is right now, for about 3 naira, 30 kobo, for instance, you know that in the nearest future, Transcorp will definitely get to 5 naira. At the point in time, Transcorp was even about 6 naira. Before it went down to about 1 naira because of the economic crisis right now. It went down to about, you know, 1 naira 30 kobo. Any right investor will know that, okay, I'm investing in Transcorp right now. I know that what they are investing in the future. They're investing in power plant. They're investing in a tomato processing. So Transcorp is a buy now. It's a buy now. Who's a sell? For sell, we need to look at it. I mean, we don't just advise on a sell. I have to look at your portfolio. For me to look at the sell. But at any given time, don't you know these are, you know, companies you should think of buying shares, and these are the ones you think you should deload? At any point in time, we know. At any point in time, it's not for public consumption. Yeah. But if you come to me and probably I'm looking at the portfolio, I can always tell you, upload this, go into this, based on, you know, the trend, you know, and what it has, what I know that stock has for the future. So to my original question, how did you get here? You did economics, then you went for your youth service, and then after that you work in a bank. How did you move from banking sector to brokerage? I love the financial industry. This industry strives on information. I mean, if you don't have information, you can't strive in this industry. I've always loved information when I was a kid. I love to know what is happening in the economy. I read newspapers, the financial sector especially. I'm always going to that sector, looking at what is happening in the economy, because I know what happens probably in the stock market, or what happens in the economy, I mean, defines our lives, you know, individually at the end of it. So that love, that drive, you know, for information, you know, especially from the financial industry, has driven me to where I am today. So I've come to this point from the banking. When I got to the banking industry, I wasn't still satisfied. I just felt, I could go to where information is in use on a daily basis. And where information is in use on a daily basis, even on a second basis, is the stock market. Where on a second basis, information is in the use. Information you have about those who are managing your stock, those who are managing, the companies, those who are managing the firms, those who are the regulators in the industry. You need to be on top of information for you to strive in this industry. And for you, as a stockbroker or as an analyst, in the system, to be able to know, to guide, your clients or your investors or would-be investors, you need to be on top of information. And that's what has kept me in this industry, and that has driven me to where I am in this industry at this moment.
Kofana as a company.
Kofana is a stockbroking firm that was opened in 2007, and then when we came into the industry, we were like, coming into an industry where there was no an indigenous firm, controlled or owned by an Aquabemite in the industry. We were like coming into an industry where like foreigners, or like other sectors or other parts of the nation were in charge. I know very well that the western part of Nigeria, for instance, have more than 60% of the stockbroking firms are owned by them, are controlled by them. But at the point in time, we just felt there was a need for a firm owned and controlled by somebody from this part, of the country, to come into the industry. And that was why Kofana came. And we have been playing in the industry since then. And I tell you, we've been going from strength to strength, stronger and stronger every day. Because as I speak to you right now, in the whole of South, a region, Kofana Securities happens to be the only firm, the only surviving, stockbroking firm still standing right now.
So when you say surviving, it means that there has been some casualties.
Yeah, there have been some casualties in the industry, because in the last few years, a lot of regulations are coming, to curtail what is happening. One was the issue, of the capital. The recapitalization. They had to recapitalize to a certain point. Stockbroking firms were asked, to up the game, just like in the banking industry in those days.
Does a stock brokerage firm have to be capitalized?
Yes, of course, it has to be capitalized. So they increased the share capital of stockbroking firm from about 150 million into about 300 million for one who wants to be a dealer, and a broker. For you to be a dealer and a broker, in the system, you need to, be able to raise about 300 million. And for that, if you can't raise that amount, you have to leave the system. So a barrier, there was a barrier, at that point. Then also came in the issue of the minimum operating standard. There's another standard you must be able to keep up for you to be in the system. It's called the minimum operating standard for the industry. The regulators came up with a standard that if you're not able to meet that standard, you must have a certain number of staff. You must have the ambience of your office, your office environment and everything.
How many people in Kofana?
We are about 15 staff there about in Kofana right now. So you need to have a minimum staff. There are some departments that must be filled for you to be in operation, and there's some minimum standard. IT wise that you need to keep up. You need to be in your IT department must be up to date for able to be in the industry. So those standards came in, and some firms couldn't meet up, so they had to leave the system. So Kofana has always survived, and as I speak to you right now, we are the only ones standing right now in the whole south region of Nigeria.
How do you compare Kofana to BGL?
Wow, BGL is quite large. They've been in the system for quite some time. But then this system is not how large you are. But is how you play in the game. There are some firms who come in and probably because of like the issue of regulations. If you go out of if you're not playing the game according to regulations, you're bound to face sanctions. And at the point in time, BGL was very big. But if you're growing and you're not looking at the things you're doing, you're not obeying regulatory set orders and all that. There's bound to be a catch up, and that was what happened to BGL. At the point, BGL had some issues with the regulators, and they had to be sanctioned. So, but Kofana is big on its own. We've been in the system for a while. We are big, and we are still growing, bigger and bigger.
So you have branches in other parts of.
Sure, we have branches. We have a branch in Port Harcourt. We have another branch, in our Lagos office. And those branches are hand in hand with Uyo. Surprisingly, I mean, very rare for you see a stockbroking firm having Uyo as his head office. But right as I speak to you, Kofana has Uyo as his head office. I mean, why we run, why we support our operations, with the Lagos office and the Port Harcourt office. So you can, from wherever you are, you can invest, in Kofana.
Okay, let's come to you. You're a customer care officer. What's your typical day like being a customer care officer in a stock brokerage firm?
Okay, so I'm always the first point of call for customers. Try as much as possible to put them through so they will understand what they're about to do. Because most of them come in to invest because they've heard other people investing. And for example, someone could come in to invest in Transcap because a friend is investing in Transcap, but he or she doesn't really know what Transcap is all about and how the market goes. So I try as much as possible to put them through before they invest. I also try as much as possible to confirm that everything is in place before certain information are being let out. Like my colleague has said, there are certain standards, there are certain rules to be followed. I do that. So I wouldn't have to call the customer back. You didn't do this or that. But before any document is being submitted, I go through all the processes before I send.
So what's the minimum if I want to invest in a stock? Say I've not decided if I want to do Champion or Transcorp, but I have 5,000. I come to Kofana. You'll be the first person to see. What will be your question to me?
Okay, this initially I used to ask them, why do you want to invest in the stock market?
One return, one big profit.
And that's what most of them kept on saying, but never really had a company in mind. So there's what I have, and because of the price list. On the price list, we have a list of securities. The securities are the companies listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
The 260 companies.
Yes. And we also have their prices, the current prices for the day, the opening and the closing price. What I do for my customers most times, although they do not know, I hand over the price list to them. They go through it and you will hear some exclamations like, oh, Champion Breweries is here. They have this longing for a particular company, and probably the prices could be attractive to them. So I use what is attractive to them to advise them. A customer can just walk in and I'll tell you, invest in Oando, or invest in Transcorp, or invest in Cadbury because I'm investing in it. What's the person's stake? If I tell someone investing in Nigerian breweries, for example, and the person is not a fan of what is being produced there, the person is only giving out to others and not really directly getting it back. So I allow them to go through the price list, and when the excitement comes in, I advise them from there.
Okay. I'm going to open it up for you guys. I think I have a little idea of what goes on there. The purpose of this particular program is to make sure we understand it, so that those who are listening to us on the radio or watching us on the TV, or if you are in the studio, understand what stock market is really about and how people make money or create wealth through stock market. So, who has a question?
My question is, like for instance, my enterprise, Global Chart Mixers and Event Management. Can Global Chart Mixers and Event Management buy shares? If yes, are we entitled to a certificate? If yes, at the sales of such share, at the certain point in time that I may wish, let's take for example, as the company may wish, what will happen to the certificate given? The second question is, if I now wish to meet Kofana to buy shares for my company, what would be the advice of Kofana on my business? To which shares should I buy? Tell, for instance, I don't drink beer, but you take me to Guinness, and I have to drink to also encourage my firm, my company, to also make more money. So my money goes back to my business, to my part of my profit. What would be the advice, and what would be the requirements needed for my company?
Okay, so if I understand you, your first question is, can I buy stock as a corporation instead of as an individual person?
Yes.
Okay, that's the first question. And then the second question is, how is the certificate
Going to be
issued? And then the third question is, do you advise me on a specific stock to buy, especially if I don't want to, I'm not a smoker. Would you advise me to buy a cigarette company? If I'm not a drinker, would you advise me to? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. Either of you can answer that.
Okay, firstly, buy stock as a corporate body. You can come in here as a corporate body, you have buy stock, you can buy as an individual, also I can also buy as a corporate body.
The requirement for buying that
It is not. It's as simple as just, when you're going to open an account in a bank, even simpler. Just a utility bill to show where you stay, your address, and your means of ID, and those are the two very
for an individual, for a company.
No, for a company, I mean your account opening and particulars, your corporate affairs,
RC
number, and those are the basic things, and your ID, just identify who you are, and probably utility bill to know exactly where you stay. Those are the basic things, that we need to keep in our files. Other than that, I mean, it's as simple as that, just that. So, and on the other aspect, you're saying if you come in, I mean, you want to, I mean, the list is divided into sectors. The list of companies that are listed on the stock exchange is divided into sectors. We have the financial sector, we have the agri sector, we have the insurance sector, we have the beverage sector, where you have Nestle, you have Cadbury and everything. So I mean, if you're coming in and you say, I don't want to invest, I don't drink beer, I don't want to invest in beer, I don't want to, make the beer companies profitable. I mean, I don't want to, encourage the beer business and everything. I mean, you have a sector to go. You could probably go into the banking sector and invest in the bank. In bank, GTB is there, Zenith Bank is there, all the banks are there. Access Bank is there to invest. And you could also go into the beverage sector, where you have the Cadbury's, and the Nestle there. You also go into other sectors, of the economy, where you feel, you invest. But all we need to do is, even in those sectors, I mean, there are some stocks they are doing very well. There are some stocks who are the growth stocks. We have stocks that are called the growth stocks, and we have stocks who have probably gotten to their potential. And we tell you probably go into these growth stocks because we know they have the potential, of growing in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. And we tell you these ones have gotten to their peak, and if you are investing, probably you are going in for speculation, just to speculate. Maybe if the stock goes in, I'm buying it at maybe 800 naira today. I'm expecting that probably in the next 2 days or even within the day, it can go into 830 or 820, and I sell it off and I make my profit. So it depends on which area you really want to. But then you still have a choice to choose whether you want to invest, in a beer sector or any other sector.
Let me ask you, do you guys create mutual funds? That is, you select some of the stocks and then combine it and sell it to your customers?
No.
Or they pick individual companies?
No, they pick individual. Mutual fund is an entity itself. It's a different arrangement entirely.
Do you have those in Nigeria?
They are still there. Mutual funds are still existing. Even some of them are even listed in the stock list as mutual funds.
Okay.
You just pull funds as we are here. I could pull funds together, and invest, in a particular mutual fund. At the end of it, what they make, or the mutual funds actually invest in, you also invest in shares, and at the end of it, you're depending, on their decision. Whatever is decided at the end of the day is what you get.
So Kofana is purely just a stock brokerage firm.
Yeah.
Do you take any liability obligations if I come and you advise me to buy this and then something happens?
No, we don't take liability.
You are not obligated. Your advice is non-binding. It's just
it's non-binding.
On the certification basis grounds, We have two markets, and I'm sure the speakers that left before we came up spoke on that. The primary and the secondary market. If you're coming through us, if you're buying through us, the issue of certification will not come in because we trade on the secondary market. But if your corporation buys from another corporation, probably if First Bank calls for public subscription and you go to subscribe, that is when the issue of certification will come in. When you have that, you have to come back to us with that particular certificate. Then we have to do what we call dematerialization. It's a long word, but it means turning that particular certificate into an electronic form so you could benefit from it. Because even if you keep that particular certificate with you, you will not be able to make use of it. Do you understand? The certification comes in when you buy from the primary market. But when you buy from us, which is the secondary market, the issue of certification will not come in.
Okay, so you guys are, but you will have to give him some evidence that he has bought something from you.
Yes.
What's that?
First, when he deposits the money into our bank account for us to buy the shares for him,
right,
and he comes with the teller to the office as an evidence of payment,
okay,
we give you a receipt.
It's a receipt?
Yes.
Okay.
And once we buy your shares, the shares you place order for, you will have an alert. And if you come to the office, I personally access people's account. I could access your account and give you what the money market calls the statement of account.
Okay. So it's like opening an account with a Kofana.
Yes.
Instead of it being a bank account, it's an investment account.
Yes.
And then you keep track of how many stocks
Exactly.
he's buying and so on.
It's as simple as that.
Okay. So what happens if he loses the receipt you gave him?
If he loses the receipt we gave to him, I am sure he will not forget his name.
Okay, so all you need is then.
Because I can use his name to get any information.
But that can be weak. What if I know that he has stocks there and I come there and use his name?
You cannot. Because once the information comes up, it works like a bank.
We'll show his picture and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Something will come up and it will definitely not be your face.
Okay.
And if the face is yours, the signature will definitely not be yours. So something will always show that it is not yours.
Okay, so you don't need a certificate if you are not doing on face. What
If it's not going through the primary market.
The primary market.
How do we deposit to your account? Or?
Well, it's just to get our account number. We bank with GTB Bank. Just go and do the normal deposit into the bank. Then you come to us.
So he pays first before he decides the shares?
Yes, he pays first before. He can decide the shares, but he pays first before order is being placed to buy for him.
Okay. I really want everyone that is listening or watching to understand the mechanics of stock trading and investing and creating wealth using a stock brokerage firm.
Thank you very much. This sounds so interesting. In short, I'm beginning to buy the idea too. And I just want to ask a simple question. Like I heard you mentioning 800 naira, but I just want to ask, like, how much is specific or the least amount can somebody buy or invest in it?
I'm sure you have a limit. I mean, the list that 100 naira will not buy you a share, and it's not even cover the cost of processing. What's the minimum that Kofana will accept? I guess is the question.
Okay, for us, we don't have a minimum. I mean, if you're coming in, for instance, it depends on the stock you're buying. There are some stocks that are already worth 800 naira itself. Like Nestle, for instance, is worth about 800 naira on its own. So you can't come in and say you want to buy 1 unit of Nestle. But I mean, you know, for as little, for me, I always advise you can start with 1,000. But the transaction cost itself is more. It's a minimum. It's just 0.05%.
So
you know,
it's just for practical purposes. So the stock is worth 1,000 naira. I only have 1,000 naira. Yeah. I go to the bank and pay 1,000 naira. Yeah. That's all.
That's all.
Okay.
No, that's
and then I can only buy 1 unit of stock. But if it is 100 naira, the same thing. If the stock is 100 naira, I pay 100 naira in your bank account. I'll come and say this is the stock I want.
No. It's always good to give, I mean, a small allowance. I mean, allowance like maybe a 10 naira or whatever, knowing fully well that the commission will come in. Those transaction costs you're talking about will come in. Okay. So it's always good to give an allowance. Okay, if you're buying a stock that is worth 1,000, for instance, if you say, okay, 1,010 naira, 1,020 naira, that will take care of the other costs that will come in.
So in other words, if if I only put 1,000 naira
Yeah.
on the bank account,
Yeah.
I can only buy a stock that is about 990.
Yeah, we'll limit you. Limit
Do you understand?
Really you're buying to what exactly most times we just look at the stocks that we know are growth stocks. For people who are very young, I always advise you go for growth stocks. Stocks that I know are not too large, in terms of the unit price are not large. The unit price are still very small, but they are they have a very good prospect. The prospects, for it to grow in the future is enormous.
Okay, so let me see how this works. So if I have 500 today, or I know I'm going to have 500 on a weekly basis, I pay the first 500, open the account, and then next week I have another 500. Do I have to place an order with you that say every time this 500 comes, this is how you use it?
Yeah, you do that. And apart from that, if you tell us, I want to invest for some of my clients, what I advise them to do is, if you want to build a stock, build your stock. Don't just say, oh, I want. Some people just come in and they say they want to invest. At the end of it, they end up having so many stock in their queue but small units that don't really make sense. That if they're paying you a dividend, for instance, you're not getting much out of it in terms of dividend. But build your stock. I mean, for instance, just pick up a particular.
It should be about the same. If you're investing horizontally and investing vertically, assuming that the stock or the 10 stocks have some value, when you add them up, the dividend will still come up to what you were doing if you're doing it vertically.
Sure, but then there are some stocks that don't really come up with a dividend all the time. So if you
growth stock shouldn't be dividend now. Growth stock are stocks that
you look at it for a long while. So some are like, you're looking at the future, and so your eye is on the future, and for that reason you're looking at a stock that you buy now. I mean, in the next 3, 4, 5 years, it will give you like 300, 400, percentage returns on your investment. And soft stocks are the ones that are advisable for those who are still, growing, who don't have much to speculate in the market.
Okay. Question?
Thank you so much. I want to ask this question, please. If it happens someone buys a share and leaves it for some times, and it also happens that the company you probably buy your shares from is growing, what will happen? Will there be increase in your accounts, or would you have to wait to get the increase only when you sell your shares, maybe at the end of the year or after some times? I just want to understand from that point, will there be increase between when you buy and when you sell, or will the increase come only when you sell, maybe after some years or at the end of a period of time?
Okay, let me go comment there. There are 3 basic benefits you get when you invest in stocks. 3 basic benefits you get. Number 1 is you stand to gain, as in in price gain. That's number 1, price gain. Number 2 are the bonuses that come to you when a company declares bonus. And number 3 is your dividend, which is the interest on your investment. I mean, I take it from number 1. Number 1, I said gain in price. So when you invest, for instance, in a stock, like Beja Paint, for instance, and over time, Beja Paint probably at the point you invested was at the price of maybe 3 naira, and over time, the tendency is that as far as Beja Paint is in the market and they're doing very well, the tendency is that Beja Paint is going to grow over time. In the next 2, 4, 5, 6 years, Beja Paint definitely will not remain at the price it is. It's going to grow over time to a certain price that is above the price you invested in at that point in time. At that point, there's what we call a gain in price. Number 2, Beja Paint, for instance, could declare a bonus. Maybe after 1 or 2 years or whatever, they could declare a bonus. And they could say, okay, for every 1 stock you have, we are giving you, another 1. And they could say for every 5 stock you have, we are giving you 2 or 3. Those bonuses come up to add, to your investment, increasing your portfolio, of investment. And like I said, number 3, another benefit you get is in the dividend. The dividend is like an interest, your profits for your investments. Why am I investing? What do I gain from this investment? Is it just to wait for the price to go up? Is it to wait for the bonuses to come? No. Companies declare what they call dividend, some twice in a year, midway, some once in a year. And this dividend is like, okay, we've made a profit of $1 billion this year. Okay, let's keep part of it, to appreciate our shareholders. And what they do is at the end of it is okay, we are keeping like 300-400 million to appreciate our shareholders for being part of us, for supporting us, in our business all this while. And what they do at the end of it is they just share their money among their shareholders. And that's why here, for instance, that First Bank, gave dividend of about 2 kobo, 20 kobo, 30 kobo, per share. And when you put this together, you multiply by the number of units you have dividend coming to you. And these days, what we advise our clients to do is that they open what we call an e-dividend. They register what we call on the e-dividend platform. What the e-dividend platform does is to erase this issue of people getting their dividend getting lost and all that. So what they do is once you register on that e-dividend platform and your particulars get to the registrars, what they do is each time they declare a bonus, the money gets directly into your account. The account is credited. Normally they used to send it by check, just kind of slip accounts like a check, and sometimes it get missing on the way and all that. So to avoid all those getting lost, missing an address, wrong addresses and everything, once you open an account, you also advise that you get registered on the e-dividend platform. Once you're on that platform, what they do is that once a company declares a bonus or a dividend, for instance, it goes straight into your bank account, and you just see an alert. And what is happening? I mean, First Bank has given dividend for your investment. That's the way it works.
Now let me see if I can understand your question. You were asking if you buy a stock today, 10 naira. Tomorrow, the price of the stock has increased to 11 naira. Is it only when you are selling that stock that will get the value? The answer is yes. It's only when you are selling that you're getting the value. But the stock appreciate almost every day, depending on the close. Once they close, they would also, I think it's you will tell him what the value of the stock now is. Something you bought 10 naira yesterday, today is now 11 naira. That you will know. But you won't get that 11 naira until you exercise. You sell the stock. Okay, so if you sell the stock the following day, then you get your 11 naira. If it stays for 10 years, that stock, fortunately or unfortunately, can be 9 naira, it can be 200 naira. That's how it works. It's only when you sell that you get the value. But they keep track of it. So if you go to them and say, what is my value now? What's my portfolio? That's what they use. What does my portfolio look like? They will tell you, oh, you bought 10 shares. These shares you bought it at the 10, is now 11. These shares you bought it at 9, is now 10. This one you bought 20, is now 14. And then they will give you a summary of what it looks like. So it's at the end of that, or when you want to decide that you transfer the money to his account, or if it is a dividend, unless you also want to reinvest your dividend. You guys make room for that?
No. Now what we do is, if you want to sell, there are two reasons why you want to sell. Is that you're selling to reinvest, or you're selling to take away your money. Okay, probably you made gain in the market, and you want to sell and take away your profit at that moment, or you're selling to probably reinvest in another stock. Okay, or probably to re-enter, that stock, or you wait for that, or you're selling to hold. What we mean by selling to hold, you're selling to wait, for when is the right time to enter. And the right time to enter is when you look at that stock.
So when you sell, is the money back in his account, or the money is back?
The money is back into his account.
Okay.
The money is back into his account.
You guys don't keep any money, do you?
We don't keep money.
Okay. So the account is in bank account?
No. There are two accounts. One is the bank. He has a bank account.
Right.
But he has a bank. He has an in-house account with us. The in-house account is where we keep track of his.
Your account is not money. It's just paper money. It's just a value of what his stock is.
No, we have one that is the value of what the stock is, which is a CSS account. They call it the clearance system, a clearing house system account. That is where the value, the stock, and the value of the stock, and the unit of the stock he has is resident. And also have what we call an in-house, account where we keep record of the finances, the naira and kobo. If he's paying money today, that money goes into that account. That money has been paid in.
Right.
And tomorrow he invests in probably 3 or 4 stocks. He goes in there that he has invested so amount of money in so stock, and this is the balance in his account.
Right.
He has one that has 2 kobo or whatever in his account. That money is there. So when it comes to say, okay, for instance, I'm selling to hold or selling to reinvest, When he sells, that money stays in an account until he makes up his mind to decides, this is what I want to invest in. I will now make use of that money. We could also say, okay, once he makes up his mind that he doesn't want to invest anymore, or he wants to take his money, that money is transferred directly into his bank account.
I want to come in
Sure,
there.
please.
Whenever a customer comes to me, I try as much as possible to let them know that the market is accessible anywhere. As far as you can access your internet, you can always check everything happening on the floor. So, I also tell them that if you give us the go-ahead to manage your portfolio, we do that. That is when I can call the customer. The stock you bought yesterday at 1 naira is selling at 3 naira today. I think if you sell, you will have a profit of 2 naira. That's when I can do that because you give me the go-ahead to do it. But if a customer just comes in, decides to buy, and leave it there, I do not go into that.
Because you're not given the
Because
authority.
I have not been given the authority to do so. But whether I am given the authority to do so or not, I normally tell them the market is open. If you can access the Nigerian Stock Exchange website, you will definitely understand everything happening on the floor. If you can access the Security and Exchange Commission website, you would definitely understand everything happening on the floor. So you wouldn't wait for me to call and tell you this is going on when you have the access to that particular information.
But yeah, I might have access, but I don't have time because that's why.
Fine. If it is a customer that does not have the time to do all that, but an authority has been given, please manage my portfolio.
For me.
Work on this for me. Give me the necessary information. That will be done at no cost.
So they have to sign. You have to sign to give you that authorization.
Well, yes, to some extent, and no, to some extent.
Because if you take my stock that I bought for 1 naira and it's 2 naira now, and you sell without my authority, and then next day it's 4 naira, you're in trouble with me.
That's how it works. So if you are my customer, for example, and probably when you came into university, you met with me, and you told me, please, can you help me manage this portfolio? I don't know how this market works, but I didn't get my profit. And now I have your name on a particular database that is being monitored. I have necessary information concerning you. I could call you, sir. The stock you bought yesterday at this particular price is selling today at this particular price. Should we go ahead and job it for sale? If you give the go ahead, I do it. I'll do it. All I need is just your signature. Depending on the kind of customer I'm dealing with. Some customers prefer to come over to the office and do everything themselves. Beautiful. And some other high portfolio customers would rather tell you, I do not have the time to come over to your office. Can you please come over to mine? I just go there. All you have to do is just sign, giving me the authority to go ahead and sell. Once I sell, everything comes into your account. And you do not owe me anything, like paying me behind.
Well, let's talk about that. So, are you doing work for God? What's your?
It is a regulated body, and the stockbroking firm does not have the right to tell a particular customer, if I sell your stock at 2 naira.
No, I understand that. I understand that part. Yeah, I understand that. But there is an inherent mechanism to benefit you. Else, you're doing this as a philanthropy.
It's a regulated body, and we're regulated by the Security and Exchange Commission.
No, I understand that.
And the only thing we get, because he said for every
transaction cost,
you have to keep a little above. We charge 1.35%, which is very minimal.
That's where we go. So that's what is in it for you. That's how your salaries are paid. That's how that's how you get your office and all of that.
Do you want to see beyond your vision? Do you want to hear what other people think about leadership? Do you need a reshaping of your mindset and mentorship? Then tune in to the Podium of Leadership, the POL with Victor Udo, showing on AKBC Channel 45 every Monday by 12:30 p.m. and on NTA Channel 12 Uyo every Thursday by 10 p.m. Tune to the POL on Planet FM on Wednesdays by 3 p.m. and on AKBC Radio on Saturdays by 1:30 p.m. You can be a guest on this program. You can also advertise your product, goods and services, or sponsor the program by calling our office line 0902 300 7299. That is 0902 300 7299. Visit our website on www.thepol.com.ng. Like our page on facebook.com/The Podium of Leadership, or follow us on our Twitter handle at The Pol with Victor. The Podium of Leadership do show. Join us.
Yes, no man at the back. At the back.
Thank you very much. We talked about if I give others to sell, I'll have to sign. What if maybe let's say I travel to Lagos and now you called and told me there is the share has risen, and I said okay, go ahead and sell. Now how do I sign for you to sell?
Do you record the voice? Because in the US I think they do that.
Sure.
They can record your voice.
Yeah, we have a record device in the office.
Yeah.
And a dedicated line for that matter. I mean, one of the things I was talking about, minimum operating standard, you must have a dedicated line.
Yeah.
Dedicated line that whoever calls, the voice has to pass through that, so that tomorrow they won't say this is not what I said. Apart from that, we are in a world of the industries. Where we are now, the IT has gone further. From wherever you are, always you need to do is just scan, our stuff and send to you. Sign it back and scan it back to us, and with your authority, we just need to, all we need to do is scan, the notice information we need you to append your signature on, and the another thing you need to do the address.
But that can still be a problematic,
and you send it back to us.
Because what if I'm in a place that
other than that, it's the voice.
The voice is the basic thing. Okay. So you can give the go ahead and they record it, and then once you are available, you go and sign it. Yeah. Basically.
Also, another question is, please, I would like you to tell me the risk involved in this stock marketing and this stock trading. Are there risks involved, and what are they? And then also, I would like you to tell us, because I'm sure many of us don't know where your office is. Yeah, you will tell us where your office is. Thank you. Excellent.
In every investment there are risks. There's no doubt about it. There's even a risk that even now where we are sitting right now could just fall on us. There's a risk in everything. Just like you are expecting, to gain, from the investment, but there are also risks involved in it. But then the best part of it is that, if you're on top of information, you can always, manage the risk. If you're on top of your information, as I always tell my clients, be on top of the information. Be on me every time. Be on top of information. Get the papers. Know what is happening. Go to the stock exchange, the website. You see it's coding over there. The prices are going there. If you see anything wrong with your account or your particular stock you invested in and is not doing very well, call me immediately. Tell me, look, what is happening here. If I don't tell you what interests you, give me the go ahead to sell. So you need to be on top of information. Information is what runs the market. The market is run on information.
Right. Do you know what risk is? Risk is basically uncertainty. So anytime you are doing anything in the future, it's risky. It's uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen. And the only way to minimize it, to his point, is to get information. Yeah. So if you get information, and the information you are getting actually is historical. Yeah. So everything, investment by definition, is risk. If you don't tell risk, no reward. You ever heard that? Yeah. No risk, no reward. So you tell risk, and you get reward. But if you are going to do the market, if you are going to play the market, you have to stay on top of the companies. You have to know what is going on with the companies, and then know when to make a decision. But that's why they are professionals. That's why they are paying them that 1%, whatever 0.000001. It's still a profit. They are professionals. And if you want to become a professional, we gave you a chance here. We can train you to become a professional, and then you can get involved. Let's take the young lady.
My question is, I heard you say something about primary and secondary markets. So I want you to tell me what it's all about. And number two, I heard you saying IT. Is it the IT I know that's industrial training? Number three, I don't know anything about stock. I just come into your office. I want to buy share. And you advise me to buy a particular share, a particular stock. Then at the end of it, the stock comes down and there's no profit. And I rush back to you to ask you what's the issue and what will be your advice. Thank you.
You want to answer?
Yes, let me answer. Before I do that, I think I'll have to give the address of our office.
Yes, we said that.
It's 119 Oron Road.
119 Oron Road, Kofana.
Yes, by Dottenville Junction. We share the same compound with Prospect Microfinance Bank. Then two, she spoke about IT. What he meant was information technology.
But answer the other question. Can she come and do an IT industrial training in your
Well, when she comes, we can talk about that in the office.
Okay. So make sure you talk to her.
And the other question, I already gave an answer to that. For the primary and the secondary. The primary market comes in when a corporation, when a company calls an individual or the public to subscribe, to come and invest. Let me use that particular word. That is when the primary market comes in. You are investing in a company that calls for subscription.
Is it called
a public offer?
Yeah, initial private offering.
Public offer.
IPO.
Yeah,
That's the IPO, the initial public offer. That's when the primary market comes in. And the secondary market is when you walk up to a company like Kofana Securities and you tell us you want to buy shares, and we put you through it and help you buy the shares.
Let me understand the mechanics here a little bit. So when a company does an IPO and some people subscribe to it,
okay,
the leftover is what you guys are now selling?
No.
In the secondary market?
Yes. The leftover is what we sell on the platform.
Okay, so if they do an IPO and they sell 75%, the other 25% will be given to stockbrokers to sell to mom and pop.
Yeah. Apart from that, after the public offer, I mean, people want to offload what they have. After the public offer, we might have need for cash. Say, okay, probably I'm not investing or whatever.
So you go to the public?
You go to the secondary market and offload what you have and sell it. So the secondary market gives you an opportunity to, trade on what you did in the public offer.
Okay.
After the public offer, what happens to me? And what happens to me?
And that's what really drives the price. Because if nobody's buying. If nobody is buying, then the price goes down. If everybody wants to buy that, then the price goes up. Okay.
Then to her last question, what she asked about if she works up to us and we advise on the particular stock.
Yeah.
And afterwards the stock doesn't perform.
Yeah.
What would we do?
Yeah.
I said that before. Once you walk in, I'll be the first person you meet. I allow you to get excited on a particular stock or stocks. Then we work on that. We give you an open ground to see everything that happens on the floor. Then you can now decide, oh well, I think I have a particular amount of money, let me put it in this particular stock. Then I could tell you, no, don't, because of this and this, or yes, do, because it is a growth stock and there's a probability of it growing. That's what we do.
Excellent. I wish we have time for all these. Maybe we have. What you guys need to do, I think their office is very open. You can go in there, and it's something you really need to understand because it's the easiest way to invest. You, as an individual, cannot buy champion breweries, but you can buy a percentage of the champion brewery. Where it's 0.00000001, you get an ownership of it. You get to attend the annual stakeholders meeting and so on. You get to understand. So it's a good way to put little money to use for yourself.
Yes.
So stock investing is a very good way of creating wealth. But it's not the only way. It's an easy one. You can put the same amount of money in a bank and you get 5%. Your bank will give you maybe 5%, whereas if you want to go and borrow from them, they charge you how much? 20-something%. If you buy a stock, that stock in a year or two can go 300 times. It can also go 300 times the other way. So it's risk. You have to balance by getting information. Once again, let's give it up to these two young people. I don't know if we have time, but since we do not have time, please visit their office at number
119 Oron Road.
119 Oron Road, and get to learn these things so that you can help yourself and help your brother. Well, wealth creation is something that we are all going to arise and do for ourselves and for our children, for our generation. Thank you very much for being on the podium of leadership.
It's all about a better place.